Good evening, and I welcome you all for this webinar on top trends in the aviation industry. I am your host for the today's session. I am Karthik Arora. I am working with Ideology as Assistant Director Product. Uh, about Ideology, Ideology is a global edtech platform that provides industry-powered global education and skills to students. We come up with new age programs in collaboration with academia and industry. And today, this webinar is in association with UPS University, where we will be interacting with Dr. Nehal Sharma. About Dr. Nehal Sharma, he is an assistant professor and has done his PhD in aerospace engineering. He has presented numerous papers in national and international conferences. His 8 papers have already been published in journals. So the topic of today's webinar is top trends in the aviation industry's disruptive technologies and wider opportunities. If we talk about the civil aviation industry, it is one of the fastest emerging industry in the Indian market. In fact, India has recently become the third largest uh, country in terms of domestic aviation, leaving behind UK. So, as this webinar is for our learners, I would urge all of you to ask as many questions as you want. We will try to answer all the questions at the end of the session. Uh, Over to you, Dr. Nehal. Thank you.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you very much. Am I audible? Am I clear?
Yes, Dr. Nehal. Yeah.
Okay, first of all, good evening to everyone who all are present. And I hope you all are doing well and safe at your places. So today we want to talk about a very interesting topic in which we want to talk about the trends in the aviation industry. And we also want to discuss what are the disruptive technologies and what are the opportunities available in the upcoming aviation market. So today's agenda is going to be somewhat related to what are the advantages we are having if we are talking about Indian aviation industry. The second one is what are the challenges post-COVID era, because COVID era has uh, crashed the aviation market in some way or the other. So what we want to do is we want to discuss what are the efforts we want to make or what are the trends which are going to be followed in the post-COVID era. And then I'm going to talk about the disruptive technologies, which is a very new upcoming trend in almost in every industry, which you talk about, be it entertainment, be it travel, be it construction, name any industry, every industry is facing this problem of disruptive technologies. And lastly, I want to talk about how MBA in aviation management is going to help you for your career growth, as well as how to get up the ladder in your current industry as well as in the aviation industry. So I welcome you all, and I'm going to start with the first part, that is what is aviation industry. So what the main issue which we are having is people confuse aviation industry with airline industry. Though airline industry is a subset of aviation industry, but still it is not clearly what aviation industry is all about. Aviation industry consists of airline industry, and it also consists about of, let's say, research and development and your manufacturing and your military aviation and much more. Even the hospitality is now coming into aviation industry. That is the new trend which we are following in the aviation industry. So what happens is there is a lot of misconception that airline design industry and the aviation industry are one and the same thing. Let me give you a brief about airline industry. Airline industry is basically your transport of people and cargo. That's it. Rest all is taken care by our aviation industry, which I guess most of you are a part of, and you must be proud of that as well. So let me start with what advantages we are having when we talk about Indian aviation industry. We want to focus on India. So as Karthik mentioned, one of my points which I had to discuss, that India is going to overtake the UK and it is going to take the third spot in the aviation industry. Yes, that is very right. It is expected that by 2024, India is going to overtake UK, and by 2030, it will be competing with USA and China as well. So as the scenario is that aviation industry in India is largely untapped, and there are a lot of resources which can be tapped, and there is a lot of opportunity for experts and professionals like you to be the part of that growth. Now, when I talk about that, what is that growth which you can be a part of? The main first point, if you can see on the slide, that is the robust demand. Basically, the market size in India is increasing day by day. The reasons are many, and we're going to discuss that. I'm going to discuss that. What are the reasons? Currently, let's say that India is operating on 153 airports, and by 2030 or 2040, India is expected to have around 200 airports. So what you can see is that 50 airports which are going to be add up, they're not going to add up in one day, they're going to add up gradually. So this means that there is a market demand for experts and professionals like you. And this is a very, very big advantage in terms of your aviation industry. Now, the second question is, okay, fine, that you are having an advantage, that there is going to be a market for aviation industry. The point is, where is from where the money is going to come in? Where is going to be the investment come into account? Because if you can see, you must have heard the budget yesterday or day before yesterday. The main point is, where is the money coming from? Where is the investment coming from? So as for now, the Indian government has allowed 100% FDI, but that is also with the condition, and I'm going to discuss that as well. There is a 100% FDI approval, and along with that, Indian government has also sought many ways to get in the money. Most recently, it was in the news as well that Tata has overtaken the Air India, and it has acquired Air India, and Indian government is expected to raise a sum of $2.4 billion with from that acquisition. So there is some part that money is going to come from somewhere or the other. And if we talk about the FDI, which I mentioned earlier, the thing is that FDI inflow is expected to be $3.06 billion by 2024, which is a very huge amount. And what are the key players, which are going to be the part of this investment? Number one, the Indian government, of course, they are privatizing the airports. You must have heard about the public-private partnership, and what their aim is, they are that from public to PPP and then finally to private, they're going to earn money from these airports. You must have heard about the Adani Group, which is quite common in logistics, be it sea, be it rail, be it air. So Adani Group is one of the key runners are going to the airports to pay Indian government to run the aviation industry. The second one is that you must have heard that people are going green, so is the aviation industry. Indigo Airlines and SpiceJet Airlines, they have planned to go carbon neutral, and they have also planned to use a sustainable fuel efficient aircraft. By this method, they can acquire loans from the World Economic Forum, which provide money and investment for such things so that we can make our planet even better. So these are some of the things where we're going to get the investment from. And apart from that, obviously the market size is increasing, which I have already told you. And in recent news as well, if anybody of you are into shares, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala is also planning to launch an aviation industry and airlines basically. And from that also, Indian government is going to start earning money. So these are all the things where the investment is going to come. And the next part is that once the investment is there, what are the key government initiatives? Because ultimately it comes down to the government, whether they are helping you or not, whether they are making the business, they're creating the business ease to do business. It all comes down to that. And we are very well aware that the Indian government has launched a scheme that is called as Udan, Ude Desh Ka Har Nagrik. And according to that, they are now getting into a low cost, low budget flights, which are attracting the middle class. By middle class, I mean to say is that Indian middle class is going upwards. There is no doubt in that. People are having money in their pockets and they are now preferring to use an aircraft or airline rather than going by rail or by road, which is saving them time. And again, as we know, that time is money. So even in that scenario, we are going to have a very big market scenario for our low budget flights. And recently, you must have heard that even smaller airports are now coming into act. Now they are being operational, and short flights have also been now into beginning. And recently, there was an inauguration flight from Guwahati to Shillong, if you remember, and Civil Aviation Minister Jyoti Rao Scindia had inaugurated it. So these are one of the few of the examples from where we are going to get money into aviation industry. And along with that, post COVID, also Indian government has given subsidy to MROs, that is maintenance, repair and operations of our airports as well as airlines. They have given few schemes as well as few leases from where airlines can get into a profitable position from where they can manage their funds. So now after covering the market opportunity and what is the investment and what are the government initiatives, where are we right now? What is the reality? Because we need to have a realistic approach, especially after the COVID era, where there was a lot of disruptions in the aviation industry. So we're going to talk into realistic terms as well. Now, if you are a part of aviation industry, you must be knowing that Indian aviation industry helped the people as well as the government, not only in India as well as abroad. If you remember, there was a Vande Bharat mission which brought people from abroad to our country, back to our country, and they also provided medicines and vaccines throughout the world, which is very commendable. And this shows that the Indian aviation industry have professionals who are capable and who are determined to go into any situation, to work under any pressure and work under any situation. So this is very commendable on the professionals like you. And what is the industrial scenario right now is that through national through the national policy of investment as well as your turnover, the national policy has changed from 2016, which has given very good results. So I believe that if you are an Indian, if you are working in an aviation industry, there is a lot of growth and there is a lot of opportunities for you if you want to consider aviation sector and if you want to go up the ladder. So now I'm going to talk about that what are the issues which you are facing and what were the risks which the in COVID-19. Now the Indian industry was similar to the rest of the industries as well, and COVID was quite harsh on the aviation industry. A lot of airplanes were grounded, a lot of airports were closed, and there was a lot of disruption basically in the aviation industry, which caused a lot of negativity among the professionals. And there was lots of loss of jobs as well, which was a negative for the booming aviation industry in India, especially. So now I'm going to talk now that COVID has gone and Indian aviation industry has even worked marvelously by transporting the vaccines and the medical supplies and bringing back the nationals back to our country and other countries as well. So now we want to talk about what are the aspects post COVID, because that is what our focus should be. And I'm going to discuss few points that how can we navigate through the upcoming challenges in post COVID. Now, the number one issue is that COVID exposed us to geopolitical and economic environment. Now, what was that? There was a lot of issues with the countries that they were not allowing the passengers to move from one country to another, which was creating tensions among the people. Even certain countries, they denied permission to some citizens that they were not vaccinated by their choice of vaccine, right? You must have heard about Covaxin and the other one vaccine issue, that some of the vaccines were not recognized by many countries, which caused a lot of geopolitical tensions. So from now moving forward, we're going to keep in mind that geopolitical and economic environment, they play a big role in aviation industry. And currently also the Pakistan airspace is has been blocked for India. And when India and China were engaged in some intrusions, even at that time, the airspace around the border of China, that was also closed for our airlines. So airplanes had to travel a long distance or had to reroute, and which caused them a lot of money, which costed them. So geopolitical and economic environment is a thing which should be kept in mind. And the other global issues are, you must have heard, the US-China conflict. Even Australia had banned flights from China. They had banned trade from China, which caused disruption in the aviation industry. The second one is managing the supply chain. We are all part of a supply chain. If you're going to look into aviation industry in that perspective, we are all managing a supply chain. We are all transferring one good from one place to another. And post COVID, we should understand that due to geopolitical issues or due to some other reasons, there is always a drawback in the supply chain. The recent example is the silicon chips, which are used in our cars or other manufacturing units. The chips, the electric chips, they are now we are now asking Taiwan to give them rather than China. We are asking Japan to give them. So post COVID, we are also going to look into or that how we're going to manage the supply chain, because it was clearly explained that aviation industry itself is a major part of a supply chain. The next one is competition in domestic and international markets. Now, what happened due to COVID was basically there are two major players, Boeing and Airbus, which are directly or indirectly controlling the aviation industry. Yes, there is Lockheed Martin as well, but it is more into military aviation. So Boeing and Airbus, it was exposed that they are the ones which are controlling directly or indirectly the global market or international markets. And due to that, there was a lot of issues with MROs, especially. I hope you understand MRO, maintenance, repair, and operations. And in that also, the main issue was of OEM, and OEM is basically original equipment manufacturer. So these are the two key players who were controlling the market and which did not allow smaller players to come into aviation industry. And the next one is that maintaining and retaining the aviation industry. Now we have all suffered the COVID-19 era. I mean, there is no industry as such which is not touched by the COVID. So a lot of people, they left their jobs and some of them were released as well. There was a lot of layoffs in the aviation industry because there was no longer a job for them. So by looking into the post-COVID era, especially in the aviation industry, we need to look that we can retain our talent. We can retain our working professionals because aviation industry itself is a very highly skilled job, and we need professionals who can take the pressure as well as who can work in any situation. So retaining the manpower in aviation industry should be a key point post COVID scenario. And the next one is ability to perform in key contracts. Again, due to the market manipulation by the major giants, even if there were certain contracts or smaller contracts between startups or new industries which were coming up, they manipulated the market and the contracts were null and void. The smaller industries, they could not provide the input or their resources into the aviation industry. So we need to manage these small upcoming industries as well, especially the aviation industry, and we need to revise their contracts so that they do not go into loss and we are not totally dependent upon the key players. So, and I'm going to come to this point as well when you're talking about India. The next one is the compliance with wide range of regulations and restrictions. Now, each and every country have their own laws, they have their own rules. So aviation industry itself is a very globalized industry. You are connected with each part of your country, each part of the world, and we have to go hand in hand. So there need to be a policy which controls the issues when we're talking about regulations and restrictions so that we can go hand in hand. And India itself has made many aerospace or aviation related uh, contracts or regulations which are applicable in Europe Union, I mean, and by in the Asia Pacific region as well as in US. So there is a lot of talk going about that we should regularize the laws and which are applicable, which are feasible basically for the upcoming market as well. So that there is no monopoly with one giant and we can have multiple players in the aviation industry. Now the next point is incapacity to innovate. By and large, the aviation industry has not changed much in last 20-25 years. The airplanes which we are using, they were developed back 20 years back. We are still using the same aeroplanes. Now what happened was Boeing had launched its dream project just before the COVID, and due to COVID it could not, the aircraft did not fly much, it did not have much flying hours. This was also a very setback for Boeing itself. So we need to innovate in such a way that we are able to sustain during any situation which might come, which might be similar to our COVID. Next one is that failure to realize the benefits of memorandum of understandings and the partnerships. If you go around looking into the news, there is always an issue that Indian government is selling the stake. Indian government is selling its properties. I am not saying anything against or for that point. The point is mergers and acquisitions are not that bad as well. They are profitable and they are helping to support certain industries in terms of their, let's say, bad times. If there would have been an memorandum of understanding or merger and acquisition with Air India, let's say 20 years back or 30 years back or 10 years back even, Air India would not have gone into so much of loss. Not only Air India, many other flights. So we should realize that mergers and acquisitions and partnerships, they are not that bad as well. They help our aviation industry. They back our aviation industry. And the next one is exposure to cybersecurity events. Now, this is a golden era in which everything is connected through internet, and aviation industry is not lagging behind. Aviation industry is getting into its IT world very fast. I'm going to discuss this point very briefly when I'm going to talk about disruptive technologies. The cyber attacks and the cyber issues are very much prevalent in aerospace or aviation industry because this is an era of data. This is an era of big data analytics. And any data which is leaked or going into some not so good hands, it is going to affect the aviation industry very, very much. And our IT infrastructure needs to be revised. Our aviation industry IT part should be kept at priority because this is the part which is going to change very, very fast. This part of the aviation industry is going to get maximum advancements, and maximum new technologies are going to come through IT. Even if we look today, the first thing which we are asked when we sit in an aeroplane is that we should put our mobile phones on a flight mode, right? And which causes a lot of discomfort among the passengers. So airlines are now getting into that they're going to provide Wi-Fi while you are in your flight. So again, if any person or any data which is available live, and if that is breached or that is stolen, it is going to cause a lot of trouble. So cyber security is one of the major issues that we need to check or we need to contemplate about. Next, when we talk about our COVID era, there was a lot of drawbacks. However, there is always a silver lining, and maximum of the passenger airlines they converted their aeroplanes into cargo airplanes, and which helped them get out of their losses, which helped them earn even more money. The cargo planes help the aviation industry to get into a profitable place. So there is nothing, even if there is again a situation like COVID-19, aviation industry now knows how to stand up to it. It knows how to not get into loss, and it also knows that how it can bounce back. So when we're talking about what all happened during our COVID era and what are the requirements for post-COVID era. So one of the major issue is, or what are the major opportunity I would call is that airport ownership transition. As mentioned earlier, that the even Indian government is going into from public private partnership to completely private. So transfership of airports is one of the need of the hour, and this is basically going to help the aviation industry, in which the airline operator is going to operate at a low budget, and the operator can choose an airport from where they think or they find they can get the profit out of it. The second one is that airports are now being collaborated into airport cities. Most of you are aware with the New Delhi airport and AeroCity. Similarly, in my state, let's say in Chandigarh airport, there is an AeroCity coming up, which is going to support the aviation industry by creating an opportunity by non-aviation players. The civil is going to come into play account, and airport cities and aeropolis, what we call as aero uh, cities, along with aerotropolis, that is the exactly term for aero cities, that is coming up. And the other thing is that Now we're going to provide, the aviation industry is going into providing location based service. For example, let's say Karthik is traveling from Delhi to Bombay. So Karthik is going to order something online at the Delhi airport, and by the time he reaches Mumbai airport, that product will be available in his hands. So these are one of the examples of location based services, and it is obviously on the lines of online shopping and delivery of goods. And when you talk about location based services, Indian aviation has now got into transporting agriculture produce as well by creating cargo planes which are refrigerated, which can contain the product, the agri product, and they can sustain the agri product for many hours. So this is again one of the examples of location-based services. Next is again, let's say digital security, which I had already talked about, that we are going to need a state of the art technology to keep our data safe and even to gather more and more data through our aviation industry. And the next one is self operation. Now this was very much prevalent in the COVID times, that you can go and directly board your flight by doing everything by yourself, check in as well as online boarding pass. Everything was available on your mobile, and this is one thing that the aviation industries are now looking forward to, that if I'm booking, I'm having a single window to perform all the tasks for me to board the aeroplane. That is very, very important aspect, that we should look into self operation. And with new opportunities, there always comes more issues. Now, if they're going to be a big market, they're going to be big players, there is definitely going to be a traffic growth for our aircrafts or airlines post COVID era. The Asia Pacific region, especially, is booming with the air travel. And as the costs are going down and down, as the people are having more and more money in their pockets, this traffic is going to get increased day by day. So we need to realize that what can we do about our traffic growth which is going to come. Next, we're going to talk about digital transformation. I think I will talk about digital transformation in disruptive technology, because that will be the right place where should I should discuss the uh, new technology which is coming up, which is very, very important to people, all of you people who are listening to this. And lastly, we are going to go, the post-COVID era, we are going for green technology, we are going for sustainable fuel, we are going for renewable sources, which are energy management, which are going to help us in energy management. And it is also a point that if we prove that we are energy efficient, we can get even more investment from the world players. That is another thing which we can look into the post-COVID era. Now, this is my favorite topic of the day, that what are the disruptive technologies which we are going to face in the aviation industry. Now, COVID-19 had made us learn a lot of things, and it has made us realize that aerospace or aviation industry is very much needed to be a global player. And we should, and post COVID we are now looking into providing better services or better offerings to our customers. And by going into disruptive technology, let me first define what is disruptive technology. Now, disruptive technology can be any new technology which makes its place in the current industry, and it displaces the established industry itself. There are many examples. For example, Uber, Airbnb, transportation industry. Your Airbnb, it disrupted the disrupted the hotel industry. Now people are going into cheap hotels and they are getting even better facilities, which they are looking for. So there are many disruptive technologies. And when I talk about disruptive technology in aviation industry, the first thing which comes to our mind is artificial intelligence. The second one is the nanomaterials. The third one is bioinformatics, and the list is endless. The quantum computing, the way you are locking your tickets, the way you are booking your tickets, the way your seats are locked, the way your ticket price is decided. It is all changing it is all transforming the aviation industry. So aviation industry is ready for disruptive technology. So what happens is initially disruptive technology attracts limited people. Let's say people who are ready to spend money for some extra effort or some extra luxury. And ultimately it becomes a part of us and we cannot survive without that technology. The best example is internet itself, a smartphone itself. Today you cannot survive without a smartphone. You need to be connected, you need to be, let's say, doing all your things on your mobile phone. And moving forward further, what is the evolution of this disruptive technology? Now, technology is of course changing our lives day by day, but today it is very difficult to live without technology. Same is going to happen with our aviation industry. And the first point is, or the first technology that is going to disrupt the aviation industry is going to be the connectivity. As I mentioned earlier, now we need to be connected all the times. Even the airplane needs to be connected all the times. Even the professionals, they need to be connected all the time. And the airline industry is now bringing your Wi-Fi to your seats in your aircraft. As I mentioned earlier, that earlier we used to put our mobile phones on flight mode. Now airline itself is going to offer you internet with money. So it's going to be your choice whether you can stay without internet for a few hours or you need to pay for it. So that is an additional market that is going to change the aviation industry. And by connectivity, there is a big market opportunity for in-flight entertainment system. Now everybody needs to watch, to be happy, on to be connected through the world, to watch movies, to play games, and all this entertainment industry is going to be provided in your aircraft while you are flying, which is again going to cost you. So maximum of the uh, airlines are now investing into entertainment systems, and the market is expected to be 7.6 billion US dollars, which is it is expected that by 2030 this much amount of investment or this much amount of return will be there from in-flight entertainment industry. So if you are working in any airlines, you should straight away start looking into this direction so that you have a niche over the other key players or your competitors. The next one is, let me choose this slide. This is one of my favorite slides. And this is an era of robots. Many airports in Europe as well as in Japan, they are now welcoming their guests with robots. And robots can speak any language around which is spoken around the world. They are replacing the counter or the front desk people, front desk professionals. So this is again one thing which is going to disrupt our aviation industry. And Along with that, there is we can say that IoT, that is Internet of Things, that is also coming into picture. Everything is being connected through internet. Now what happened was, it hasn't yet started in India, I guess, but in many countries, let's say UK, what they are doing is they are giving bracelets to their professionals, to their working professionals, and that bracelet is monitoring their daily activity, what are the, if they are having any issues with their health, as well as where all they are going around in the airport. If you can look at the slide, I hope that the text is visible. Even if it is not visible, I'm going to tell you. If you can see the first image on the left top side, the IoT or the artificial intelligence, it is now calculating how much baggage is left, how much baggage has been uploaded, how much fuel is there, how much maintenance records. It is going through the maintenance record, how much maintenance is required, how much time the airplane is going to be grounded. That is even being calculated by the artificial intelligence, and that is all related to Internet of Things. And if you can see the picture down below, the mobile is giving you directions from where you can go to board your flight. Again, it is going to affect your working professionals, their jobs. So you need to work into that direction as well. And apart from that, it is also opening up opportunities. If you want to see the right side picture, your mobile is going to tell you that your flight is delayed by 2 hours and you can spend certain amount of time in that cafe. How many people are there in the cafe? What all are the menu available, or what are the products available in your airport markets? So this is how it is going to get transformed. This is how the marketplace which is available in the airports, that is going to change in the future. So your Internet of Things, your artificial intelligence, it is going to change, disrupt the airline industry completely. And again, we all know that blockchain technology is there, in which we break your business into certain parts and we try to take out as much, incentivize as much possible, and we try to get profit out of those parts. The best example which I can relate to aviation industry is that when we incentivize our travel by miles, for example, you're going from Delhi to Bombay, this much are the miles which you have earned. Then even if you're flying, the airlines is earning, is attracting you to even fly more, to utilize those miles. Now this is an example of your, let's say, blockchain technology in aviation industry. And again, if you want to look about the other things, connectivity is going to be the next breakthrough in the aviation industry. We are currently using Wi-Fi, right? Uh, the next breakthrough is your LiFi, that is light. Light is going to be used to transfer data. It is already under R&D and many researches are going on. And if LiFi comes into account, the connectivity is going to increase haphazardly. It is going to disrupt the current connectivity scenario. Now, till now, I had talked about technologies and what are the upcoming technologies. The latest, if you follow the aviation industry, the latest by Elon Musk is anywhere on Earth for the price of economy class flight. Now that is going to be disruptive for aviation industry. So my suggestion to you all would be to get into management and get up the ladder and start thinking on these terms, which are going to be affecting the aviation industry in the coming years. And by this, you can be ahead of the other competitors. And now I'm going to talk about how an MBA in aviation management is going to prepare you for the new roles. I had discussed what are the challenges, how Indian aviation industry is going to boom up, how the post-COVID era is going to look up, and what are the new disruptive technologies. So to keep yourself updated, to move up the ladder in your career, you need to have a management degree from which you can go ahead. Now, my point is, if you all of you are working, I hope you all are you from aviation industry background, and even if you're not from aviation industry background, this is the industry in which you should get into, because there is a lot of money coming. There is a lot of realistic approach, and Indian aviation industry is on the rise. So the concept of aviation management is basically which covers large areas, from planning of airports to operations of airport to the layouts to operating the airlines. It has n number of let's say job opportunities as well as roles which you can always opt for according to your choice. So with all being said, aviation management will help you to go up the ladder, and it will help you to be in this aviation industry. And do not feel negative in case anything of COVID-19 happens again. So by talking about aviation management, let me start that it is basically a specialized business management course, and which plays focus on the aviation itself and the airline industry as well. And along with that, the upcoming aerospace industry, it also caters to that. So as I had shown you a slide which Elon Musk had shared or is working on, the next opportunity is your space tourism. Aviation management is also going to keep or is going to keep you updated that what are the future prospects of your aerospace industry. And along with that, I would like you to know that what all you will learn in this aviation management degree. Aviation management courses, they are specialized in management courses and they focus. And the benefit is your career development. By career development, I mean that you can keep your mind free that for the rest of your career, you're going to go upwards only. There is not going to be a layoff at high level or mid level or high level. And to able to get that qualification, you will learn to use new technology, and you'll learn about new technologies in the aviation management course. And of course, it is an international career. If you want to go into to some other country, if you want to work in other, if you want to work abroad, aviation industry is one of the best industries from which you can go from places to places. And apart from that, you will meet new people, and with from different cultures, even in India and abroad. Aviation management degree will help you get a career which will provide you an opportunity to work with all aspects of life. Every day is going to be a new opportunity. Every day there is going to be a new set of people in the airport. Every day there is going to be new challenges. So this is going to keep you motivated for life and for social aspect as well. And along with that, there is always there are always perks with the aviation industry that you are going to get travel and holiday benefits. Many airlines, they give their professionals free tickets, free hotel stays, and it helps you to go around the world and travel around the world. And you can get into air traffic control, you can get into engineering side, you can get into maintenance side, and you can get into airport planner side, airport security manager. There are endless jobs if you go into if you opt for aviation management, and administrative jobs of course. And along with that, even if you are unable to get into any job of your choice, aviation management is going to help you getting into travel and tourism industry as well, which is again a 2.5 billion industry in India, right? So for now, this is all I have. And if you have any questions, please put up. I hope I have uh, enriched you with certain ideas and certain uh, things which are going to be a future part of aviation industry. And I hope that you all be a part of Indian aviation industry and go miles ahead or fly miles ahead in your career. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nehal, for sharing your knowledge and especially telling about that aviation industry is not only about civil aviation, but cargo and logistic management is equally an integral part of the aviation industry. As we all know, that Tata Sons has acquired Air India by for 18,000 crores, and marquee investor Rakesh Jhunjhunwala has also invested in an airline which will be operational by next year. And in fact, I was reading somewhere that government of India is also taking so many initiatives to promote this industry, and they are planning to launch 8 academies, flying academies, so that aspiring commercial pilots should not have to go out for the training and they can be trained in India. So which is leading to my question, which we have received from is like, why aviation industry is so important for a country like India, and why Indian government is promoting this industry so hard.
Okay. The thing is that the modern aviation industry is, you cannot live without modern aviation industry. I would put it like this. And the main reason is that it is a globalized world. You need to stand out. If you need to be, let's say you, if you want to be top of the world, top of the countries, and it helps you connect with different continents, with different countries and different cultures. And the important to India especially is that it is a profit earning industry. The Indian market is, let's say, booming. It is going to boom even further, and it is going to create a lot of jobs. It is going to create n number of jobs in the upcoming years. Let me go to one of my slides in which it was showing that how much jobs are going to be there by the Indian in the aviation industry. So there are direct 4 lakh jobs for the professionals, and there are going to be approximately 1 million jobs in supply chain management, and there are going to be 5 lakh jobs in, let's say, HR, administrative workers, and of course tourism. It is going to have around 4.2 million jobs, and this is going to help India itself as well as Indian people. So this is why aviation industry is very important for India.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Nihal. Another question is, as we all know, that COVID has impacted, in fact, each and every one of us, and definitely the aviation industry. How do you see a comeback after COVID of this industry?
Okay. As I had mentioned that there is, first of all, there is a market demand, there is a market scenario, and along with that, there are very good government initiatives. I personally like Udan because a lot of my own relatives, if they have to travel from, let's say, Chandigarh to Palampur or Chandigarh to Allahabad, they are now using airlines as a means of transport. And post COVID, everybody wants to be safe, and one of the safest travel way is your airlines.
Okay.
And it is definitely going to give make a comeback after COVID-19. Many cargo planes have come into place, and privatization is also helping in one way or the other to our aviation industry. Modernization is taking place. A lot of national airports are now being converted into international airports. There are now international airports from lesser known there are a lot of international flights from lesser known airports which we didn't even think about. And expansion of airport is there. So post COVID, it is a very good scenario.
I completely agree with you, and that's why I think visionary industrialists and like Tata and Rakesh Jhunjhunwala are still investing in this industry. So there must be some rationale behind it. One another question which we have received from our participant Umakant is, what are the job opportunities in aerospace safety?
Okay. In aerospace safety, now a new market is coming up that is of drones. I'm not talking about aviation industry. I'm talking about drones. I did not touch that part. But if you're talking about aerospace, the unmanned flights and the drones, they are coming into picture. And for that, for safety point of view, the government is very swiftly making the laws. You might have heard that there are certain areas in which you cannot fly drones, you cannot fly your even your cameras, GoPro cameras, if they're having let's say quadcopters. So now that is that safety, from that safety point of view it is. And of course the cross border terrorism, they are again hindered by the drones. So, as far as your question is concerned, aerospace safety is very much prevalent and it is going to get a lot of limelight. As we know that Indian space program is also going very high. ISRO is doing very nice, and and there is a special, let's say, department for aerospace safety that is coming up in the government as well as in the private sector.
Okay, thank you. Another question, Dr. Nehal, is, as though have you have already mentioned that aviation industry is not about civil aviation and it's actually an integral part of each and everyone's life by logistics and supply, managing the logistics and supply chain. But still, one of the question is like, what all other industries are actually related with aviation industry, and what are the jobs which they can get if not into aviation industry but in another industry with this program?
Okay, I think I briefly covered it, covered this point in the last slide. The travel exists, the travel industry exists out of many aviation industries. It is a part of your aviation industry, like hotels, like hospitality, like the logistics, the supply chains. These all industries are very much common or prevalent for aviation industry. And apart from that, what you know is, if you read the news, the aviation industry is now going for water drones. There are a lot of, they are going, they are there are, I guess, 8 airports, or sorry, air water ports, which are now identified, in which the cargo is going to go from your riverbed or your sea, and from there the airplane is going to take off and land. This is again upcoming industry which is going to boom because India is a country which is filled with rivers, and aviation is going to get into that as well. And of course, as your question was, that there are a lot of service industries which are associated with the aviation industry, your hospitality, your hotels, and these are all, I guess, going to help you get into a job of your choice with an MBA aviation degree.
Okay. Dr. Neil, another question which we have received from our guest Bishal is, what is the scope after BBA in aviation? As we have BBA as well. So what's the scope after BBA?
So, after BBA in aviation, the first and foremost jobs which you can apply is basically of graduate trainees in your airports, in your hospitalities, in your front desks, and you can, if you, it is going to be your choice whether you want to get into technical, whether you want to get into planning, whether you want to get into operations, whether you are happy with your, let's say, front desk jobs. Opportunities are great.
Okay, thank you so much. Uh, One and last question which we are going to take, as there are so many questions, but due to the time limit we cannot take more questions. So last question which I am going to ask you is, sir, that one of is there any add-on courses after MBA in aviation to specific aviation sector, like airline marketing, airline HR, airport safety, airline scheduling, etc.?
Okay, a very good question, and I'm going to recommend one thing to that person who has asked this question. You have asked about what are the add-on courses. my advice is, along with your MBA aviation, get into data analytics.
Okay.
I'm not going to say which course you should do. The point is, get into data analytics, and what you had mentioned, that what all scheduling is being done in scheduling and all. Data analytics is the next step in which you can go even more higher in your, let's say, hierarchy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nehal, for your time and all the guests for attending this webinar. We hope that you have find this webinar useful. You may post all your other questions and we'll try to respond you over the email. Due to the time limit, we cannot take more questions. I would like to thank all of you again for attending this webinar. You can post your questions and suggestions on the given email ID in the chat window. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Nihal. Thank you.
Thank you.